This is a place for planting, for digging, for harvesting, for relaxing. It's a place to get your hands dirty, but most of all, it's about having fun. And that's what you'll always have when you're in the garden with Doug Oster. You want a green thumb too, don't you? Well, I just couldn't resist. $7 for these containers, already all planted up. Yeah, they've been sitting there all season, but that's okay. And one of the most important jobs this time of the year is fertilization, and especially for containers. I've got 2 hangers out there, so I needed these anyway, and they'll last another 2 months. But let's get them thriving with some good organic fertilizer. And my arms hurt now. So all year long, I am feeding my containers with a good organic liquid fertilizer. I love this stuff from Espoma. This one's called Just Grow. And again, organic is important to me. And these have been sitting in the nursery all season. They look pretty good, but before I get them in place, I'm going to be sure that they have everything they need. And then we're going to go out and hang them where they're supposed to go. And it's just a concentrate. And then we mix things up. Does not smell bad, which is always a concern for organic liquid fertilizers if they're fish or seaweed based. And we just want to make sure that they're going to hit the ground running. Well, I can tell this one is actually still a little light, so I'm going to give it a little bit more fertilizer. And every time that it gets water, it's going to get a little fertilizer too. And I'm also going to do some deadheading here, pulling off the old flowers to encourage blooms. And like I said, this thing's going to go all the way to October. Now there's one right behind us that needs a little help. Well, remember, this was one of our bargain plants about a month ago, and it bloomed like crazy, but it needs a little help. It needs a little bit of feeding here. And boy, this container looked great until the deer got after the sweet potato vine. Can you see that? And so after I'm done feeding, I'm going to spray it with a little Bob-X to keep the deer off it, and hopefully I'll get some more sweet potato vine as my spiller here. Look at that. Oh, it's just because this container is right on the edge of the garden where they can come right out of the woods and nibble on it. And you know what? For some reason they like the purple better than the kind of greenish pink one. So, well, on the way to the vegetable garden, there is something I have to show you. This is a beautiful plant from Proven Winners. It's Super Bells Over Easy. Now, I get sent plants every year, and I feel kind of bad about it because all I do is kind of stick them in a hanging basket like this and just let them go. But look at this thing. It's absolutely going crazy. I love the colors, and so I'm going to feed it too, and then we're into the vegetable garden. Well, one of my Achilles heels in the garden is growing big onions. I just don't have enough sun. I've tried everything. So I've resorted to growing bunching onions, and boy, they do the trick. Look at that, they look great. And I'm gonna harvest a few of them, but we never plant a root crop like onions or garlic in the same place every year because they don't get many pests or diseases, but the ones they do are just awful. And so these look pretty good. They're ready, they're getting big. But I have a whole flat of bunching onions I'm going to put in now. And the reason I'm putting them in right now is that they love cool weather and lots of moisture, and they'll winter over. I still don't know what I'm going to plant where those onions were, but some kind of cool weather seeds are going to go in there today. And look at these bunching onions. They had them at the nursery, trying to get rid of them. They were cheap. They have been sitting there all season, but that's okay. I'm going to kind of loosen up these roots, and they're going to go in some good compost. And like I said, these plants are going to love the upcoming cool weather, and we have good compost here. And once they get established, boy, they're going to go to town. And I got a bunch of them, and they were, you know, really cheap. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like onions. I love the smell of onions in the morning. Smells like victory. Mulch is important. Don't want weeds when you have onions, and you want that soil to stay evenly moist. And this is going to do it. I'm going to put some water on these and then move on to our next job. It's another bargain. Are you tired of hearing about bargains? I'm not. The last mention of bargains, promise. Today, I'm sure we'll be talking about it for the next 2 months, but morning glories, 50 cents a pot. I love morning glories. I didn't get any in. I'm just gonna throw them over in this flower bed. They'll climb up the edges and we'll have morning glories here for the end of the season. All right, one more job and an important one to do and then we're done. You know how I'm always telling you to read the tag so you know how big the plant's gonna get? Well, look at this. This hosta underneath here has been swallowed up by this carrier shrub. We've got to get it out of here, even though it loves shade. You can't live under that much shade. So today's a great day to move it. We've got cooler temperatures and of course we've got a nice shady bed to get it into. So let's get that done. The real trick to this is having a transplant hole dug already, just approximately how big you think the root ball is going to be, improved with compost. Now all I have to do is dig this one out. Normally I'd use my shovel, but I can't find it. It's somewhere out in the garden. It'll turn up. All right, let's get this out of here. I'm going to get as much of the root ball as I can. Hostas are tough though. And even if I do mess up the leaves, they'll come back. I'm getting there. Looks pretty good. All right. This is a variety called Sum and Substance with big chartreuse leaves, and it will come into its own next year. All we need to do now is put a little water on it, some mulch, and we're good to go. All right, let's finish up. Well, let me brag just a little bit. I am so honored to win the Gold Award from the GWA for newspaper writing. Thanks to everybody who has read the stories and who has shared their own stories with me. Now check me out online. There's lots of information there about gardening, stories, blogs, more videos. Until next week, plenty of stuff left to plant in the garden. We'll see you then.